Mike Perlack here to entertain you with the help of The Lover Speaks. Shooby dooby doop doop doop. Ow. Shooby dooby doop doop doop. Ow. No more I love yous. Yes, you heard right. For years, if you thought the same thing I did, for years I thought that was Annie Lennox original. Nope. A band in the '80s called The Lover Speaks did that song with a guy singer, a gentleman with an awesome voice. Just Google "No More I Love You," The Lover Speaks, and give yourself a listen. I was happy to discover that there was actually a version of that song because I always liked Annie Lennox's version of the song. Although I watched the video recently and was laughing my butt off, and I got some hate from somebody on social media about that because we all know what you mean. Blah 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 blah. What? Obviously, the person was accusing me of being a xenophobe or a thisophobe or a thatophobe or whatever a phobe. They just make this stuff up as they go along. Thisophobe, thatophobe. Anyway, I'm getting off track here. But anyways, according to this person, I can't like the song if the video makes me laugh. The video features guys prancing around in tutus and with makeup and singing. I find that humorous. I find that comical. But according to this person, I'm not allowed to like the song because of that. Whatever. But anyways, I do like Annie Lennox's version of the song. But I was happy that there was actually a male voice singing it on the band The Lover Speaks, because now I can sing along to that. I'm not going to sing along to Annie Lennox, duh. I always liked her version of Whiter Shade of Pale. And although I discovered sooner that there was a band called Procol Harum that did that song, so even that isn't an Annie Lennox original, I discovered it through the movie The Net, because they play it during the credits, that Sandra Bullock movie in the 90s. That's kind of how I discovered it, and I really liked the song. And again, when I discovered that Procol Harum did the song, I was happy that there was a male version that I could sing along to, but not 100% because I still liked Annie Lennox's version of Whiter Shade of Pale more than Procol Harum. I think it's a style thing. And Procol Harum's back from the 70s, which is a little before my time. But anyways, but that's not the case with this No More I Love You. I love Annie Lennox's version, and I love this The Lover Speaks version equally, just as much. No More I Love You's Annie Lennox was one of them songs that I would never admit to liking when I was a kid, primarily because the video was so goofy. I got to the point in my life where I just don't care what human beings think. All right, that's, over 3 minutes. That's enough for the intro. So, the point of this YouTube journal entry. Even in death, my father is providing comical anecdotes to share. I think since this is the butt end of the Thanksgiving weekend, I guess I should start by saying I'm thankful. I'm thankful I was able to extend my father's existence for a few years by giving the neurologist, this is all on my channel, permission to drill the hole in his skull and get the blood clot out. But I'm also thankful that he is somewhere else now. I'm not going to dictate whether that somewhere else is a place where good people go or where bad people go. I'm not going to assign myself as the arbiter of truth and judgment. Through my own hope and faith, and perhaps in his own language that I don't understand. My father did repent at some point, and he is with the Almighty. God made him just as much as God made me. But I'm not going to assign myself as the arbiter of truth and judgment. There's already too many people in this world that do just that on the regular. Nancy Pelosi, AOC, people like that come to mind. I had a visit with my sister and brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law was telling me a story about my father involving a mechanical dog. Like something out of that the Sixth Day movie, that Schwarzenegger, that weird Schwarzenegger movie, like something straight out of there. So the other day, actually the day before Thanksgiving, I called the Guardian, even though his case is over, he's deceased now, and I just wanted to say, yeah, could I just have a few minutes of your time? I just wanted to talk about your experiences as my father's guardian, which I'm happy to say she did. She said that when she met him, she went there and she knew he had a dog. She was going there expecting to find him with a real dog, apparently, but no, this was it was a stuffed animal. So apparently it was her idea to get him this mechanical dog, for which she also had to purchase real dog food for. This is where our tax dollars go for two folks. I mean, this thing had to have been a couple $100. I mean, my father still gets Social Security, but I don't know. I don't know if our tax dollars paid for it or not. I honestly don't know. I hope not, but the way the government overreaches in this country, it probably did. But when he got in trouble with the law, that's why I cut him off. I wouldn't even answer my phone after he got in trouble with the law again. Like I said in that last video, his last year of life went from jail, homeless, institutionalized, hospice care, God, in that order. But she did say if I had any. She did ask me if I had any knowledge to his saving or checking account. I told her I had minimal knowledge. I don't know what's in there. It could be a couple hundred, could be a couple of thousand. The point is, I'm 99.9% sure that my father did not have a fortune secretly stashed somewhere. And whatever little bit of money is in some checking account will probably just stay right there until it reverberates back to the government. That's just the way those things go. I don't care. But my brother-in-law did state that the Guardian did say at one point that that quote he was a trip. My father. Yeah, don't I know it? I had to live with it for years until I had to work two jobs to survive, and I couldn't deal with it or had time for it anymore. As I said, from what I gather when I talked to the Guardian, buying the mechanical dog for the boy was her idea. According to my brother-in-law, the Guardian bought it for him to shut him up, quote unquote. That's my brother-in-law's version of it. But this man was dead mentally for months now. My brother-in-law seems to believe that he had a Les Paul guitar stashed somewhere. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. Oh, God. The one guitar he did have, I took when I raided his already raided apartment. To my surprise. I video documented that, too. And I can tell you, it's not a Les Paul. Far from it. Now, this next part of the story is, again, speculation. I don't know this for a fact. I'm only going to tell it from my perspective and the facts that I do know. A gentleman that was an acquaintance with my father, a gentleman that I did get to know a little bit. This gentleman was a traveling salesman, probably had connections in different parts of the world. He was helping my father to get a place over in a country overseas, so somewhere in Europe. I'm gonna be vague about the details, but quote, my father ruined it by opening his mouth when he was over in this country. He was apparently choosing to sleep on benches near the local McDonald's in this country. What he had was a round trip to this country and then back to America. But this gentleman, this traveling salesman who was helping my father, as I said, had set him up with a place, and then all my father had to do was shut his mouth. Something my father cannot do. Anybody who knows my father knows that. So, matter of fact, my brother-in-law said in a conversation he had with this gentleman that the gentleman stated he's lucky he wasn't arrested. You get arrested in another country as a U.S. citizen? Did you ever see the movie Midnight Express, folks? Give it a watch. So even in death, my father is still providing comical anecdotes to share. All our life, he was always in and out of trouble. Usually would spend his winters in the joint, and his spring, summers, and falls out and about, causing more trouble. But whenever we would see him, he'd have some new theory. You know why these young girls are developing so fast? The government's putting chemicals in the milk. Stuff like that. I told my sister it's probably a good thing that he passed before, because he was a 4-hour drive away because of getting in trouble and stuff. But it's probably a good thing that we didn't see him, because he would probably think that my sisters are his sisters, and he never had a brother, so me and my brother, he would probably think we're the devil or something, in the way his mind was. I hope he repented. The movie What Dreams May Come comes to mind, which I'll talk about later in this video. I will not sacrifice my will to be with God out of love for someone who won't or cannot repent. Maybe he repented in his own language, a language I don't understand, that a language that is spoken only between him, my father, and God. There is that. I don't necessarily think that the mental retardation people with Down syndrome necessarily go to a bad place, but his mental retardationness was only enhanced by his mother, my grandmother, bailing him out of trouble, even going as far as emptying out her own retirement savings to do so, including, as I've stated many times on this channel, seeing that he did not have to do time for the crime of child abuse of which he was convicted. My sister shared a memory with me that I might have all but forgotten about until she shared it with me, of the time my father had us signed up for swimming lessons in our neighborhood back in the day when we were kids. At a time that when my father picked my sister up, brought her to the deep part of the lake, and dropped her, shouting, "You should know how to swim by now." And I would have all forgot about this until my sister mentioned it. I distinctly remember seeing a legitimate look of fear in my sister's face at that moment. Anyways, that was kind of a request. My sister requested that I share that on here. But, yeah, I have no knowledge of what ended up with that script my father was writing. That was going to be his big break into the world of Hollywood. Something about some businessman or whatever who dies and sets up some arrangement with God to have all these dead rock stars, John Lennon, probably. I don't think my father knew who Bob Marley was, but Bob Marley, people like that. Buddy Holly, Jimi Hendrix. Jim Morrison and Tupac. But anyways, all these guys were incorporated into this story he was writing called Heavenly Skies. Is it Yoko Ono? I guess it was the business guy dies and makes some agreement with God that these long deceased rock and rollers can come down to Earth for a couple hours to put on some show, but the living can't touch them, was the rules. And it was going to have some little touches like the businessman smoking weed with Tupac, Yoko Ono having tears in her eyes, looking up at John Lennon on stage, stuff like that. Beautiful story. I wish the boy had the intelligence to make it work. But he did. But the reality is he didn't. So anyways, this was basically my father's script that centered around his idea of heaven, I guess. So I thought, what would my idea of my father's hell be like? So I scripted this. A little ditty I like to call Dust on Curbs in Hell. So when my father gets to his damn place of damnation, they'll be like, you're going to drive between those curbs with no one to guide you. This is how you will spend your days. And by night, you will sleep in a dust-filled room with no canister of pledge in sight. No pledge in sight. There is no such thing as pledge. Welcome to hell. This whole thing centers around some of the obsessive-compulsive personality traits of our father, which were in turn used to abuse me and my sisters for 6 years. All right, I'm partly talking out my butt now because pledge was a rare luxury. Most of the time, because he had us getting up every day to do it, towards the end, at 3 o'clock in the morning, to dust the entire house. It was just a damp rag because pledge was not always in his $40 allowance, weekly allowance from his mother, my grandmother. Yeah, that's all he got. That was his $40 a week allowance. And pledge wasn't always in the budget, you know. So anyway, I'm just going to end this YouTube journal entry. Watched a couple of good movies during my visit with my sister and my brother-in-law, including one called Rigoletto. Anyways, the story centered around an eccentric millionaire with engaging in a very unique charity work to help the people in this town. And we watched. After we got done watching that, I thought up a movie that had a similar plot called Greedy, starring Michael J. Fox, about another eccentric millionaire who never knew love. So the movie centers around this cat and mouse game, so this old guy can figure out who might really love him. Good movies. And it was a triple feature that night, so then we ended off the night with watching the movie What Dreams May Come, starring the late, great Robin Williams. This had been the third time in my life watching this film. First time was at the show and it was new. Second time when I found this DVD at the Goodwill 15, 20 years ago. And then during this visit last week with my sister and brother-in-law. To my surprise, I had no memory of this movie having a kind of sort of happy ending. In my memory, I thought it was just a fantasy film for women who deny the existence of God, but expect the man in their life to be God. Very contradictory, think about it. But that was just my personal perspective of the film. What the Robin Williams character does in that movie, I don't know. As a man, I guess I would try, but I would still acknowledge that I would need God's help to do this. And I can't say that I personally would be willing to sacrifice my relationship with God for the sake of an earthly female. And the only exception I can think of is if that female were the mother of my child. That'd be like the only exception. And if not, well, then I'd rather have my peace. Mike Paralak. Thanks for your time.